Welcome to Prepare for Takeoff. I'm the creator and host, Cyrus. We're the podcast dedicated to amplifying Black excellence. Every week, we sit down with a proven professional or a rising entrepreneur. This week, we're sitting down with Damon Darrell, founder and CEO of Monarch Motion and Media. Damon, what's going on, fam?
How's it going, good brother? Glad to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for giving us some of your time. So talk to me about growing up, man. If I'm not mistaken, you're from North Jersey, correct?
Absolutely. A brick city, born and raised, Newark, New Jersey. I've been there most of my life until my adult years. And I kind of stretched out, expanded, but I was built, born, bred in the brick city. Still have a special place in my heart. Still got a lot of ties there, a lot of friends and some family there. Over the years, as I, went to college, I went to King University, got a degree in graphic design and in business management. As a young Black man growing up in Newark, you try to find your way. I had a great family upbringing, grew up in the church, mom and dad, my sister, but boys gonna be boys. We test the waters, we do things, not always great, smart things, but when you find your leverage, you spread your wings. So we took some chances, did a few things, did real estate appraisals. I actually taught a little bit. Then I found my way into corporate banking. Commercial banking, I was in that space, retail for almost a decade. Good money, great money. Moved into business banking, and there started to be a shift. After a while, you start to, as you get older, you get married, you have a family, you start to kind of figure out where your life wants to be and where you want to be in it. And what happens is when you start to look around, it's just like, wait a minute, I'm not happy in the space. I'm not comfortable in the skin that I'm in this environment. Even though the money's good, something's missing. So I kind of defaulted into a safe space, which was a creative space. I've always been a creative individual, always been writing, have always been writing since I was a kid, telling stories, creating writing classes, making little comic books. So I started writing little books and things like that, some salacious stuff that, I won't get into in this space in my life. But if you know, you know. You might be able to find some trails of it out there somewhere. But that's where I started. It was a voice. It was something that kind of gave me some identity back. And, I kept going with it. And that kind of evolved into probably 10 years ago, where the web series started to become the next popping thing. People were like, oh, you should turn something into a web series. All right. So here I am. I got some time right now, still working in banking. So I got some money. So I decided to do it. I got just about started, not knowing what I'm doing about any of this stuff for web series. All I know is I can write, I can tell a great story, but jumping into that space is a different animal. But the thing about me is my work ethic, my integrity. People saw that I was trying to do something, even though they didn't necessarily know that I was new to it. Everything that built me and my work ethic, they was like, you know what? Let's see where this is going to go. I'm going to ride with him. So thank you for everybody who started to take that trip with me. But what happened was, about a week before we were supposed to start filming, the person that was going to film it, something fell through with it. And I'm just like, okay, I got all these people lined up. It was a big cast. I got like 20 people in Beyond Desperation, my very first web series. And everybody's looking at me and I'm just like, all right, I don't have a camera. I don't know nothing. So luckily, I get a call from my boss that morning on my way into the office. And he's like, hey, just wanted to let you know bonuses are in. I don't know if you had a chance to check. So I'm just like, no, not yet. He was like, let's just say you should be happy when you get in. When I get in, I check. I'm just like, man, I called my boy, rest in peace, John Anthony. He was a photographer. And I was like, listen, I need you to tell me what camera to get, what to get. I need you to teach me. Man, I went to Best Buy, bought a bunch of stuff, met with him, got a crash course, and I was using the DSLR back then. So I'm just like, tell me what to get. I got the money, got it, and then just started doing it. And then the love of it started to come. I was like, you know what? I actually like this stuff. I'm still working, still doing things, and I'm still doing this on the side. And then somebody asked me, hey, can you do a commercial? And I'm just like, let's give it a shot. So I did a little commercial for somebody, and it worked out good. I'm just like, okay, I'm liking this. So life started to take effect a little bit. A lot of people may or may not notice about me because I'm mostly a private person. But with my family, my sister has MS and she's been struggling with it for quite some time. And it started to take a toll on her. And then my dad started to get a little bit sick. He had Parkinson's. My mom's older. So I'm just like, all right, I got to take a step back. So I moved them down because at this point now I'm living in South Jersey, and I moved them down with me and into the area so I can keep an eye on them. Still have the passion in pursuing, but it's like everything's struggling and everything's starting to clash. And I'm just like, all right, I can't focus on taking care of them because that's if you're a caretaker for anybody, that's a full-time job in itself. And then if you're in corporate America, that's a full-time job plus, and they act like you don't have anything else to do except to live for them. So I'm just like, all right, the money's good. I got all this equipment now. I got to do something because my family needs me. So I stepped out and I started Monarch Motion and Media. Just word of mouth, getting little jobs in. I still had some money in the bank, so I'm not really stressing about anything. And then it started to get good. Something silly happened, and it said, you know what? Maybe you should get into film. Maybe you should try your hand at doing a little short film or something. So I'm just like, okay. So I did a short film, which did pretty good. It was in a Newark Film Festival. Shout out to those guys. And then it started to get really good, and it's just like I'm getting better at writing, I'm getting better at scripts, and people ask me to help with scripts and to help do films. And then I started getting into doing some directing, and then I stepped out and I met my man Anthony Artis, and he's doing this thing, and he's a teacher in NYU, and he's also a great filmmaker. And he's been around the block in the industry for a minute. And I just had one of his books, and I reached out to him and said, hey, this was on faith because I don't know if Adam's like, do you happen to do private lessons? And he said, you know what? I'm just thinking about starting that. So what are you talking about? So I told him everything. He said, bring your gear. We're going to walk through some things, and I'm going to teach you what you need to know. So we did, and I started progressing still. Couple years had passed, and I see him at the film festival in Newark, and my film is in there. And he's like, "Oh, we just had lost touch for a minute, just life." At that time, I was working on another project that I brought him in as DP on, and we forged a relationship, and he's watched me grow over the years, and now all of a sudden he's bringing me into some of his jobs, and I'm just like, all right, we're talking about shooting like celebrity people, and I'm nervous as I don't know what. He's like, man, you got this, man. I watched you develop over the years. He was like, come on. We started out where, hey, I got a couple dollars. You want to be a PA on this set? Okay, yeah. So I'm doing that little by little. I'm just kind of inching my way into the space and just putting the work in and just being there. We be coming home from New York. He's like, hey, you know the DP, that's such and such. He shoots like stuff from Marvel. And I'm just like, what? I was like, I have no idea the space I'm in, and I'm soaking up all of this game and just being committed to the craft and learning and just being an open vessel. And that resonated with a lot of people, and that's how I built a lot of relationships. So I started moving into just doing bigger and better projects with the company. My dad passed, unfortunately, a couple of years ago, and then my sister started to get a little bit worse, and I had to refocus a little bit and take time away from the business, but still plugging away. God is just like, whatever doesn't kill you, it won't break you. If you have faith in me, I'm going to take care of everything and do everything that you need me to do. But with that, a couple of years ago, around the time my dad passed, he's like, you got to make a change. He's like, the gifts I gave you aren't yours to do whatever you want to do with. And I'm just like, well, what are you talking about? He's just like, yeah, you're planting seeds in minds of stuff that they don't need to think about. So what I gave you, you're misusing, and you need to correct that. So I'm just like, man, Lord, I hear you loud and clear. So from that point on, I started to dive more into the scriptures, and, I'm following God's direction. And he's just like, yeah, everything that you do now has to have a purpose. First you have to uplift me, and you have to uplift everybody around you. You have to be an inspiration with your work. So I'm just like, I hear you loud and clear. So since then, I've been trying to focus more on, Christian films. And when people come to me, it's kind of like, instead of just doing another hood movie, let's talk about what we're doing. Let's figure out there's a better way of storytelling without being on such I don't want to say a low level, but there's bigger stories to tell. There's more to it than just being in the streets. There's more to it and you don't want to sound preachy, but people have tremendous stories. It's not always tragedy. Of course, tragedy is a part of it. Even the Bible has tragedy in it, but it's the way it's presented. What do we learn from these tragedies? What do we learn from character? How do we develop character? So I'm inspired to help teach people, like, we don't have to do the norms that Hollywood say, the degradation. We don't have to use this as a tool all the time. Granted, there's a time and place where the truth has to be the truth, and it is what it is. You have to tell it as it is. but that you don't have to focus and glorify the negative always. You pull a negative and you pull a positive out of it. And it wasn't just with film. I wrote a couple of books too, like I said. That's how it all started, writing all of the salacious street novels and kind of all of that stuff. But now, guys, it's like now with all your experiences in life and everything that I've given you, now you got to do even more. I'm going to revive this talent for you to write. I saw a need after the George Floyd killing. And what started to frustrate me is every time something happens, everybody's marching and then there's a call, we got to buy black, we need unity. And 2 weeks later, I hear the same thing. That's why I can't support a black business. That's why everybody's got an issue with it. So it's just like, there's a disconnect here. And a lot of it has to do with service. And I've experienced it, and I'm sure other people have. But that's sometimes stereotypical, but sometimes it's fact. We don't get it right sometimes. And based on, all of the information and my experience that I collected and had the privilege of learning, when I was in banking, I saw the other side of that. So I saw where businesses struggled, especially black owned businesses. So I'm just like, it's more to it than just bad customer service. There's a lot of components there that we need to figure out in order to correct the situation so that we can rise and we can do better and we can deliver excellence. So that's what made me write, the book I just launched, May I Help You. So with that being said, that's where I am now. I'm here. One of the biggest things for me with the Damon Darrell brand was when I left corporate America, I started growing my beard. I called it my freedom beard as a reminder that I'm never going back to that. Because in corporate America space, you have to fit into that peg. And some people say you have to code switch or whatever they may call it, but there's a certain piece of you that I had to give up. When I looked in the mirror, I'm just like, all right, when I come home, I got to be a different person. When I go to work, I got to be a different person. Now, I'm just so blessed and thankful that I'm in a space where all of me is just collided and I'm now who God wants me to be. I don't have to be a separate person. It's all collective. It's all me. You got my company, you got my books. It's all one purpose driven me. And that is a blessing to be, brother.
God gives us all of these talents and we have to find a way to multitask. And we do it already and we don't even give ourselves credit for all of the things that we do. We have to navigate being black.
Yes.
And then we have to navigate our professional lives. Then we have to navigate being a parent. Then we have to navigate being a son. We have to navigate being a friend. So we already have all of those dimensions that we're navigating. It's just a matter of adding more dimensions to that. And one of the things that will enable us to do that is surrounding ourselves by like-minded individuals. And there's an old saying, show me your friends, I'll show you who you are. And the gentleman that you mentioned from NYU, just think of all of the elevation that he was able to privy you to, that you may not have been able to see had you just maintained the altitude that you found yourself in, had you just grown comfort in knowing, look at what I've accomplished. And based on my peer circle, I'm killing the game. But if you are in a room and you're the tallest person in it, you're in the wrong room.
Yes.
And can't be afraid to put ourselves in circumstances where we may not feel comfortable. We have to learn how to become comfortable with being uncomfortable. That's how you grow.
Yes.
And to just kind of see all of what you share in your story and more importantly, despite what your personal goals and objectives were and still remain, you never lost sight of family. You never lost sight of what was most important. And family is the most important thing, which is the thing that connects us back to our higher power.
Amen.
And those are the things that we can't lose sight of. So you can be ambitious. You can be someone who wants to do all these things, but you can't be blinded by your own ambition.
You're absolutely right. There's a saying that I have, and it's, I call it the divine order of my life, and it's God, family, and then business. It has to be in that order. God guides everything. You submit to Him, and then you take care of your family, and then business. I think at this point, whenever you embark on anything, you need to, first make sure that you have a purpose. Whether it's writing a book, whether it's being a filmmaker, whether it's being a doctor, what is your purpose? And what I found is money should not be the motivating factor. Money should be the byproduct of the purpose that you're going after. Once you are dedicated to the purpose, it gives you a substance, it gives you a foundation. But without that, if you're just chasing money, then that affects the next tenant. It's just like, can really people trust you if they know that you're just after money? What is the
Mhm.
foundation? So once I started really focusing on the purpose and God gave me that purpose, and it's like, you got to use your talents to uplift. You got to edify. You got to help build people up with what I've given you. That just put everything in a better perspective. And you mentioned, having people around you. If you are the sharpest one at the table, unfortunately, you have to change tables at that point.
Mhm.
And it's not about being mean, it's about your own progression. It's about you being a person, it's about you taking it to the next level. When I was first starting out, I was asking people that were in the industry, I'm asking them for the secret sauce. I'm just like, how do you do this? You're eager, you want to know. It's like, you're there, you're where I want to be. And person after person it's like I never got a straight answer. But now as I'm navigating and finding a little bit of success here and there, I'm learning there is no secret sauce.
Mhm.
You got to put the work in, you got to be willing to commit, you got to show and prove, and you got to create your own opportunities. You got to put yourself in those spaces to make those opportunities, and everybody's journey is different. That's why nobody can give you an answer. That's why nobody can give me an answer. And I'm starting to realize that you got to find your purpose, you got to put your work in, and you got to show people that you're serious about it, and things will come. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, everybody can't come with you. Sometimes as you develop, I speak about my friend Anthony. It started out from a mentorship perspective, but now it kind of turned into a colleague perspective. He's helped me develop. He's helped me develop. He's helped me grow. I got a degree in graphic design. I had been in corporate banking for the last 10 years before I started this. When I come into the space of filmmaking is something new, I'm around people who they went to school for this. This is what they've dedicated their early life to. So when I come into this space, it's kind of like, wow. Sometimes it's a shrinking feeling. Do I really belong here? I'm looking at some of their achievements, and I'm just like, I was in banking. Yeah, I can work a camera now. Yeah, I can write. I can. But these guys have really been doing it on higher levels. But after I started to realize I'm putting the work in, and they're right. Nobody's questioning my talents or abilities but me at this point.
Mhm.
When I'm once, even if I was a PA, I'm doing the best thing I can do as a PA. I'm learning now as I move up. I'm working on cameras on certain things, but nobody ever questioned because I did everything to the best of my ability. I put 100% whatever I was doing, even if there was no money at sometimes. Talent is something that can be, I think, developed, but the will and the effort, that's something that can't be given.
Right.
You can be taught how to use a camera. You can be taught how to write a script in a sense. You can be taught how to direct. You can be taught how to do lighting. But at the end of the day, if you put a little bit of work in, oh, it's not working, I'm not where I want to be, and then you rush off to do something else, yeah, you got to give yourself time to develop. You got to water your process. A
Right.
plant doesn't grow overnight. You have to give it some time, give it some effort, give it some love and some dedication, and you'll get there. It takes time. You can't self-doubt yourself. And it took me a long time to really get out of that. The people that I surround myself with now, even now to this day, they're just like, dude, you can do it. If a job comes up and I'm just like, I don't know, they're just like, dude, I've seen what you can do. Like, stop playing. Like, let's do this. So
Right.
I really appreciate and I value that, because sometimes you look for external validation, but sometimes it's the internal validation that's holding you back. And you have to look at your spaces, and it's just like, you know what? If nobody else is questioning why I'm here, why am I raising that flag? So that means I need to be here. And it's just something you have to listen to that voice. And sometimes you have to ignore that inner voice and say, you know what? Shut up, voice. I'm here. I'm in the moment. I'm going to do the best I can. And even if I'm not doing the best I can, nobody's going to know it but me. But I'm going to display and I'm going to act like I know and I'm supposed to be
Right.
until somebody taps me on my shoulder and say, hey. And even still, that's a learning experience.
Right.
Everything is an opportunity. It's a learning experience. And you just got to just dig in and play your position and do your part.
Thinking about starting your own business? Make it real with Shopify. the all-in-one platform trusted by millions to sell online and in person. Whether it's merch, art, or digital goods, Shopify gives you the tools to build, grow, and succeed. And here's the best part. When you sign up using the affiliate link in our show notes, you're supporting Prepare for Takeoff and starting your business off right. Click the link and start your free trial today. One of the things I say is, no one is going to believe you if you don't believe you.
Yes.
And then more importantly, why should I believe you? If you don't believe you, why should I believe you? You have to treat yourself like a brand. If Nike is saying, well, we should do it, maybe we'll do it. No, they say just do it. And so there has to be some call of action associated with your brand. And then there has to be things that reinforce what your brand is saying its call of action is. So if you're saying to somebody, you're a filmmaker, until you give me reason not to believe you're a filmmaker, I'm going to take you at your word. We start with a blank canvas. And the only person that can derail what goes on that blank canvas is you. During that manifestation process, the people that are going to probably be the last to see you to be the person that you are manifesting into becoming is the people who've known you the longest. But they're going to be the first ones to tell people, oh, that's my boy D. Yeah, man, we grew up in Newark together. But the whole time, they was lightweight, hating, throwing shade. But really what it is, it's their self-doubt manifesting through those seeds of doubt that they're planting because they can't see for you what they can't see for themselves. That's why I said it's imperative to surround ourselves by other people because that are doing the things that we want to do, because from those individuals you draw inspiration and you begin to realize that they're no different than you. You begin to realize that their journey is very similar to yours. You begin to realize there was a time in which all they needed was an opportunity. And you begin to realize that school isn't going to prepare you for that opportunity as much as preparation will. And preparation comes based on what predicament you put yourself in. As you know, I used to live in South Jersey. In the depth of my soul, in the pit of my stomach, it was something that I'm like, man, this isn't realistic, man. I would love to do something entertainment related, but many of my jobs were human service related because it spoke to my college degree. It spoke to the people around me, the work that they were doing. So I said, well, this is what my normal is going to be. And it wasn't until I moved and I began to enter into some of those rooms. And quite frankly, it came from a conversation that I had with somebody, and they had told me what managers do in the business of entertainment, in particular in the music industry. And based on my background in casework as it relates to the human services, around, I said, well, you're managing their career. I'm helping people manage their lives. So I'm like, I think I can tap into that transferable skill set. Now, knowing what I know is completely different. However, it does take a lot of the same attributes.
Yes.
It's really just a matter of learning the variables in a similar equation.
Yes.
Because I had the aptitude, but I had to learn the business. I had to learn what those variables consisted of. And I'm sure you found yourself in the same predicament based on your graphic design degree. You clearly had the ability to be creative. You clearly had the technical background that comes with filmmaking and storytelling. All you needed was an opportunity, but because your trajectory, it zigged and zagged, now that self-doubt entered into your thought process. But to the people in the room, they're like, man, this brother don't even realize it. He got it. He got to see it.
But you know what? Taking a roundabout approach to coming where you are, it's actually a gift. Coming into those rooms and then having the experiences, having a graphic design degree, teaching, going through banking, being an entrepreneur, being a writer. But just those experiences gives you a worldview that allows you to be in the room with substance. Because what I've learned is all of the experiences, the clients that I work with in banking and learning different industries and being in different spaces, when I go into a room, it makes me versatile.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes the conversation might not even be about film. It could be about something totally different. But in the back of my mind, I'm just like, hey, I had a client who had a business that did this. So now I can actually have an intelligent conversation and bring some substance and value. And now my intellect, it's like, okay, this guy knows what he's talking about. So if I can have a conversation with him about whatever, then I'm pretty comfortable with letting him shoot my commercial or write my script or do whatever. And even with writing, being able to write, it's not a singular function. You have to be able to go outside of yourself and pull from experiences that aren't your own. And in order to do that, sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I knew a person that did this and this actually would make a good story. Or this character, is supposed to be doing this. I actually know somebody that did this and I can actually pull it. I actually have called people who've been in those situations and I'm just like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about this? I'm doing some research for a character that I'm, writing for. Having those experiences are paramount. You got to embrace it all at this point and don't throw anything away, and that's what I had to learn. I'm thinking if, I'm coming from, a certain background, I'm in this space that I have to walk this walk and talk this talk. But then it's like a robot. You really become useless because everybody's trying to be in the same space. Everybody's trying to talk the talk and walk the walk.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, what do you bring to the table? What value am I going to bring into the room from my experiences? And I had to learn that that's what people are looking for. People don't want robots. With AI, it's enough of that going on
Right.
nowadays.
But even with AI, you have to program AI so they can speak to your area of expertise. So even with that, they're looking for the specifics that you bring.
Exactly.
And AI is only as good as the person that is programming it to learn the things that it knows. And how do you do that? By feeding it your information.
For now,
right? For now, right? Until they realize we don't need that. We already got that.
exactly. And so
Yeah.
it's been a great experience. And what do they call it? They call it imposter syndrome. I've heard people call it. Getting out of that imposter syndrome, it's a mental space. And first and foremost, for me, I think you have to find what resonates for you. And for me, it's my faith. Like I said, God first, and God dictates everything. And without that I have to go to God sometimes now before I even take jobs. I get calls, hey, I want to do a script, I want to do that. And I'm just like, okay, tell me about what you want to do. And I have to go pray about it sometimes because there's been some times where I'm just like, you know what? I don't think this is a good fit for me. And I got to be okay with that. But guess what? I know God got to be okay with me first before I can say, hey, okay, I'm going to do this. If it's not okay with God, then it's not for me. And you got to be comfortable with that. You got to be comfortable with that. And if you're not, you got to question, are you grounded and rooted in your own core values? I know I'm not changing that now. At this point, when you start out, you chase everything. You know what? I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. But now I'm at a comfortable space where I'm just like, everything's not for me. And I'm okay with that.
You had mentioned that there's a number of different projects, and I know you're humble. When you say I've done this, I've done that, and I know there's a lot of things. You can run down a laundry list of things that you've done and who you work with and what your short film and all of the different things you found yourself doing behind the camera. But you care to share any of the details of some of the things you've done being this filmmaker, this storyteller, this creative that you've evolved into? Because I want people to be able to connect the dots, if you will, whether that's in the community, whether that's on the screen. I want them to be able to really see where you've come from, being that kid in Newark, being that kid that zigged and zagged from teaching to banking to being a writer, being an entrepreneur. Well, what are some of your proudest accomplishments as it relates to being a creative?
Starting out, of course, with the web series, but I brush all of that stuff because I'm not necessarily proud of the content now.
Okay.
But here's the thing where I'm at with that. And I can share. I've done Mercy. That was the short film. It's still on Amazon. I've got some of the books that I've written. It's still on Amazon. You search my name, you'll find them there. I'm not going to promote those actively, but they're still out there. You can go see. It's this there. And at one point, I was nervous about actually sharing some of the stuff that I've done like that. Because I'm just like, now that I'm in a different space, people are going to say, oh, he was doing this. But then God said, you know what? That's fine. You need to let people see where you came from. And they need to see how the power that I've given you to go past that stuff. They need to know that if you put faith in me, I can move you in directions that you didn't think that you would go. Usually, God doesn't always call people that's perfect. You look throughout the Bible, he's just like, hey, I need you. And Moses is like, hey, I can't even speak well. What do you want me to go talk to Pharaoh for? He's like, doesn't matter. I'm going to make it happen. So when I worked on projects, I was writer director of a film Providence. That's all completed, and hopefully that'll get some distribution soon. I had Mercy, the short film. I've been contracted to write some other films that's under contract that I can't talk about right now. Under my company, I've done stuff with the Army. I've done stuff with NYU. We've done some stuff with Fordham, Yale. My portfolio has actually been growing with the type of clients that I've been working with. Worked with the NAACP down here in South Jersey. So the stuff that I've been doing now resonates to where I want to be. And I work with a lot of agencies, actually. My company, we do commercials for agencies and things like that. And we still work with small businesses in the community. But I had to learn, when you're starting out, you take everything. So it's kind of like, hey, yeah, I'll take this. I'll do anything. I got a camera. I'll do this for $300. And that now it's like after a few years, it's after you've been doing this for a while. And it's like, all right, you see the value in what you do and you see what you bring to the table with clients. What I had to do, especially after COVID hit, was say, hey, you know what? I need to do more than just make commercials. I need to do more than just do videos. And I saw the climate changing because what I started to see was I could do a great video for a client. I go back to them and it's like, well, how'd the video do? And it's like, oh, we never got a chance to post it. So I'm just like, okay, as a business model, my job is to actually do things that's going to help you. And what I loved is I translated all of my skill set from banking to my business now. So it's like, all right, I've got to help people drive results. And that's where I started to focus. I'm just like, if this video is not doing what you need, it's not solving any problems, it's not doing or bringing any value, you're never going to call me back again. So when I started to move the company into a direction of, listen, I don't even touch my camera until we figure out what you want to do with this video. What is your goal? Are you trying to, build your bottom line? That may not be the case. You may just want to, showcase something on the back end. It may be something you want to communicate to a team. It may be anything, but we assume that, I went in, I used to go in with the assumption that I could just make something cool. But as a business owner, it's like I have to solve problems. And that's what we do. If you're not solving problems, then get in line with everybody else who got a camera, especially now, because you can make a cool video that will have absolutely no value to anybody. Whether it's a commercial for a client, it's going to either drive something for you, it's going to solve a problem. If it's a film that I'm working on, it's going to tell a story that resonates to help change or impact somebody's life. That's where the work I am. One of the things that we like to do when we work with anybody in the project right now is, how is it going to change lives? What is the impact? What is the purpose? And if it doesn't really have that, and if it's just something to be cool, if it's just something, I'm just like, you know what, this may not be the project for me.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. You can go look at the website and see all of the stuff that we've done. It's there. I don't hide some of it. Like I said, I'm not proud of the stuff, but I did it. The stories I told, the web series that I've done, the movies that I've done, it's out there. But I'm proud to say that I'm glad it's out there. You can actually see who I am now and where God brought me from.
Right.
And you can't be scared to embrace that. I'm not. That's where I started, But when God gave me correction, he's like, listen, you can't use your gifts the way you want to. They're not yours. They don't belong to you.
Right.
And when I heard that so clearly, I'm just like, almost tears came down, because he's like, you're accountable for all of the stuff that you put in people's head. Whether you're writing about women, relationships in the not so great light, you're responsible for those seeds that you're planting. And what are you planting? Is it anything that's going to uplift me? If it's not, you need to correct it. So all of the films that I'm working on now, and I do a lot of writing actually, and It's interesting where, I direct and everything, but it seems like more people have been coming to me for writings and scripts. In the last 2 years, I've probably written about 6 scripts for people.
Like you said, God, he will bring us from anywhere. And I know you're humble and gracious, but just with the content that you did prior to having your awakening, we're talking about urban street culture. We're
Yeah.
talking about
Yeah.
something that a lot of people in our community gravitate to. So naturally, you would be likely to say, okay, I know there's a demand for that type of content,
Yes.
so I'm going to feed that demand, which is nothing that I don't think anybody should be ashamed of, no different than hip hop. Hip hop, it has some things that you can associate with how and why these kids find themselves sipping lean, popping
Right.
pills.
Right.
But in the same regard, hip hop has saved a lot of people from going to the penitentiary.
And to that regard, there's nothing wrong with that. Urban street lit, some of the, I want to say, advanced romance. I'll say that in a better way. It's also, I would say, a documentation. Actually, that was one of the names of the books. Loose, Last Days of Diego Black. It's out there. Beyond Desperation, the web series, which is very salacious in nature, and it's still getting a bunch of views out there, and it's entertaining. It is entertaining, but even with that, it was a space where I think I gave a voice to individuals where some of the content was a little raunchy in nature. There's still the underlying story that resonated with people. I got calls from non-ethnic people saying, "Hey, that's a great story under there," and I'm just like, interesting. It wasn't written for you, but
Right. Wasn't for you, but you grabbed it.
yeah,
Just
yeah,
like hip hop. Hip
yeah.
hop
So
was
it's
made for
like,
us, but because of the
exactly.
success it had in the suburbs, that's why it's been around for 50 plus years.
Exactly. So it's a culture. That's where I come from. I saw it around me, and I'm older now. I should be wiser now. So I'm in those spaces where I have a child. I have a daughter. I'm just like, I'm sure in the next few years, she's probably done it now, Google Dad, and it's just like I got to be accountable for that stuff, and I'm not even going to hide it from her. But it's great to be able to come from that culture. So when I'm working with people, and I've actually worked with quite a few people who have said, "Hey, this is what I want to do. This is what they want," and I'm able to actually inspire them to think a little bit differently. They say, "Yeah, I know that's what they want, but why?" For example, granted, drugs are a problem in the community, right? But does everything have to glorify that aspect of it? Let's talk about the other people that's impacted in the community by the same thing. It's different ways you can tell stories and have the same impact around the same problem. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I didn't want people to think that you're going to see me on OnlyFans with a bunch of content. Nothing like that. And but like I said, I'm grateful to be able to be in a place where people can see where I've come from and see where I'm at now. And I'm not ashamed of any of it. It's my journey, and I embrace it all. Now I can say, yeah, I used to write urban street lit. I used to write those romantic stuff and those raunchy web series. But now I'm at a point where, for the culture, I see my people now are gravitating to wanting to be economically sound, and they need some structure to help them get to a place that's beyond the street lit. We want to go from that to now being able to establish businesses and
Mm-hmm.
do it in a way with excellence. So now I'm able to take my journey and say, hey, yeah, this was all cool. It's entertaining. But through my journey, this is what I've learned along the way. This is what I've learned and I've seen when working with businesses in my banking career. I've seen the shortfalls that Black businesses go into when we come into the banking world. I've seen the shortfalls when we come into customer service and we don't have the infrastructure to actually do a good business. So now God's telling me, yeah, instead of the street lit stuff, now let's get our people focused on growth. Let's be
Right.
economically sound and let's build that structure. And you have the tools and the knowledge to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
now people know that you have the skills to write. People know that you can entertain. So now let's use that to uplift. And I'm here for it all now. I'm here for it all. I'm grateful to be able to say, hey, this is Damon Darrell, reborn, reinvented. I'm here for my people. I'm here for the culture. And let's build.
This episode of Prepare for Takeoff is brought to you in part by Riverside. the platform that I trust to record studio quality podcasts right from my laptop. With Riverside, I get crystal clear audio and 4K video. Plus, it's super easy to use. Whether you're a beginner or a pro, Riverside helps your podcast sound amazing. Try it out for yourself. Click the affiliate link in our show notes and start recording like a pro with Riverside. Look at how many people can relate to your story because we're all a work in progress.
Yes.
As you mentioned, look at these figures of prominence in the Bible and who we knew them to become. That's not where their journey started. As you mentioned Moses, as you mentioned, there's a host of different people that you can touch on that when they had their encounter with Christ, Christ found them in one place and he helped guide them to another place. So if he can do that for them, he can surely do it for you and I.
And that's what I love about the Bible. It doesn't hide any of it.
Right.
It doesn't say, hey, this is just where we found Moses or we found Daniel, we found them at the pinnacle of where God wanted them to be. No, the Bible's very clear. These jokers' character, they weren't where they were supposed to be when God found them. That's what I love about the scriptures. It's like you get all of it. You get the good, the bad, the ugly. And that's what I love. You get to see it and you get to see yourself in it. And that's where, I started to embrace it. Just like, you know what? The Bible doesn't hide character flaws.
So why should you?
At all.
You're right. So why should you? And that's one of the things I wanted to touch on to make certain that our viewers and listeners were fully aware and understood where your journey had started, but more importantly, where it's at now. Because there's a lot of people that can relate to that. Like, oh yeah, I remember I used to get all his books. I used to watch his web series, but we've all evolved. We've become some variation of our parents. We went from listening to hip hop to listening to talk radio, to listening to podcasts, to watching the news. Remember, your parents had to make you watch the news.
Yes.
Now you're watching the news all the time. It's a part of getting older. It's a part of evolving into being the people that God wants us to become.
It's okay to come from something. Don't be afraid to say, hey, yeah, I come from this environment, but I want to be a doctor or I want to be a school teacher. Or people think that, you got to be what's cool. Nah, you don't have to be a YouTube influencer. If you want to, be a city engineer, it's a space for you. It doesn't have to be, oh, I got to be cool. I got to have a certain swag. Yeah, you can still be who you are and still go after those things in spaces. You can be a scientist. A good friend of mine, they're biologists. It's just like you would never think where they come from that they're biologists. But it's just like, yeah, it can be. You don't have to stay in the box that you come in.
I totally agree, man. It's not about where you start your race, it's where you finish it.
Amen.
And trying to draw inspiration from everybody around you that may have run that race prior to you. And I'm all about each one teach one. And my journey, it didn't start here. It led me to here. And I'm sure your journey didn't start here. It led you to here. And that's really what we want to share with other people, to be able to show them that doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what you may find yourself doing on your 9 to 5, doesn't necessarily matter what your father or your father's father did. It's a matter of what God put in your heart, put in your spirit, put in your mind, and not allow the enemy to rob you of what it is that God has bestowed on you, which is the gift that he gave you. And like you said, it's not your gift to use as you see fit. It's a gift that he gave you. And if you abuse it, he can very well take it away from you.
Yes.
So we have to be stewards of those gifts. So with all that being said, man, just wanted to give you the opportunity to share with our viewers and listeners 3 things that you feel will help them prepare for takeoff.
The first thing I would say is to, and I might have said a few of these earlier, make sure that you find your purpose. Make sure that you root it in something with a purpose. Because if you don't have a foundation, and, my mother used to say, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. So don't let the money be the driver, especially for yourself, for your family, for your culture. Let the money be the byproduct of, whatever purpose-driven goal that you're after, because the money will come. And when you're doing something that you love and that you feel is having an impact, I think that you'll just feel a better sense of greatness and a better sense of success, and it's not just monetary. The second thing I would say is to maintain integrity. Integrity is, I think, one of the key components. And a lot of things I'll say that was my home bringing. My mother used to say, your name is worth more than gold.
Mm-hmm.
Integrity will get you into doors that money can't get you in. And
Mm-hmm.
also, having poor integrity will actually close doors that money has got you in.
Right.
People
Absolutely.
look at your integrity and they say, who can I trust? Because this industry, whether if you're in the indie world, and I spend a lot of time in the indie world, or if you're breaking into Hollywood, it's a very small circle. Very small.
Very small.
And the third thing I would say, do the work. Be committed. Even if you're not getting paid, show that you are willing to learn, show that you're willing to be committed to doing the work, and people take
Mm-hmm.
note of that. One of the things that people said, and when I first started out, absolutely, when I was doing the web series, I had some people, they were already actors, and they said, you know why I actually did this? Because I saw that you actually wrote some books and finished it. I get approached so many times by people to say I did this or I want to do this, and they don't have an end product. When you show that you can start something and finish something, people look at that. People can go back and say, hey, what did he do? You can say you're working on something. I did this, I did that. But you can go back and say, hey, let me Google him and see. You can see me on IMDb. You can see me on Amazon. You can see some of this. You can Google me. You can see the stuff that I've done. And when people see that you started something, it just speaks to your work ethic. People don't want to invest in you if you're not going to start and put the work in and grow yourself. If
Right.
you're going to start and quit, that's going to follow you. And people talk. Reputation is everything in this industry. When it goes along with integrity, start something, finish something, do the work. Don't always expect a payout. Sometimes learning is the payout.
Right.
I've been on sets where there was no money.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just like, hey, I'm just soaking it all up and I'm glad to be there. And I learned so much. I built relationships. The next person that gets called where there is a gig, it's just like, well, who was that guy he did a good job with moving those apple boxes around, you know, but you learn to be on set. If you're with the assistant director or the director and you are looking to see what's going on, when he's looking for something and he's looking for it, be the first. Hey, I got it. Understand what they're going through. Understand what they're looking for. Learn who needs what. If you're looking for if you're working with the grip, learn what they're doing. Be able
Mm-hmm.
to go into the toolbox and say, hey, I know you're looking for this. I know you're looking for this. I know you're looking for this 2x2. I know you're looking for this. Just know and learn and be aggressive, and people will notice. Do the work. That's it. Purpose, integrity, do the work.
Where can they learn more about your story? Give them your website, give them your IMDb, social media, whatever you see fit to share.
You can find me at damondarrell.com. You can find everything about me, what I'm doing, the podcast that I'm doing. We do a Bible study podcast on Sundays. You can look at my filmmaking. We can connect. I'm into helping and working and collaborating with people that are doing Christian films. And then my company, if you need commercial work with great commercial work that's going to help you drive results, monarchmotionmedia.com. We've been doing it great. And May I Help You to Book.com is the latest book launch. It's a book about helping Black-owned business owners improve their customer service approach and help deliver service with excellence. In a time now, especially now in this environment where everybody wants to boycott mainstream and they want to turn to Black-owned businesses to buy Black, it's imperative that we treat our consumers with the respect that they deserve so that we can continue to circulate those dollars. And unfortunately, a lot of times some of that's lacking. And I talk a little bit more about that, not just about service, but collectively how to build your brand in a way that's going to help you develop and deliver service with excellence. So you can find me on Instagram at the official DamonDarrell.com. Same thing on Facebook, the official DamonDarrell.com. You can Google me. I'm out there. You
No
can search for
OnlyFans.
Amazon.
Oh, you're not gonna find the brother on OnlyFans. You're gonna find them on Amazon. You're gonna find them everywhere. You're gonna find them on IG, but he ain't gonna be on OnlyFans. So you
I
ain't gotta
promise
worry
you
about it.
that. And if
Yeah,
you see it, it's not me. I know
it's
it's
not
not
him.
me.
It's AI.
I can promise you that. It's AI.
Right. Well, man, Damon, man, thank you for giving us so much of your time, man, and sharing your journey and quite frankly, being so transparent about your journey. I appreciate your authenticity and how you're willing to share with our viewers and listeners. And I look forward to seeing how, we can work together. I'm all about collaborating. And just one thing to say to people, we should stick together, but it's another thing to be able to show them what brothers have been able to do together. So I look
Absolutely.
forward to seeing what we can do collaboratively, because I'm sure you've done a lot of work outside of the community, as I have done myself. And I'm looking to do more work in the community. I'm looking to help more small to medium-sized businesses in the community, realizing that the same opportunities that exist on Broadway should also exist on Main Street. So the resources that I've been able to accumulate over the years, I'm all about sharing those resources. I'm all about working with individuals in a collaborative manner. So I look forward to seeing what we can do and how we can just expand our expertise into the South Jersey region and beyond. So once again, thanks for sharing so much of your time. Also, I wanted to thank our viewers and listeners, whether you're watching us on Spotify or whether you're watching us on YouTube or you're listening on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Audible, iHeart, or Pandora. As you know, every week we bring you proven professionals or rising entrepreneurs. And all of these conversations, just like this one, will help you prepare for takeoff. Damon, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, good brother. Appreciate it. Looking forward to doing big things with you.